Hey everybody, welcome back to the garage. Today's episode, I'm going to be removing my ProSpeed heat exchanger reservoir and replacing it with the dedicated Motorsports 2-gallon reservoir. Okay, so here we have the kit. Of course, you have the reservoir itself. It's got a nice ZL1 monogram laser etched lid. It's powder coated if you like that. I'm going to end up putting some heat reflective tape on this because it's very close to the header. These 12 AN hoses and fittings come with it, along with this bracket to mount the bottom to the frame. And then there's another bracket here that mounts onto where the old air cleaner used to mount. So some of you don't know why they call these 12 AN, what the 12 means. So 12 is 3/4, but what it actually means is 12/16. So 12/16 is 3/4 of an inch, and that tells you the ID of the fitting. It looks very much like a JIC, which is a 37-degree seat. An SAE is a 45-degree seat, which I believe these are. So you can't mix JIC and SAE together because the angles don't line up. You'll actually get a point of the male end running into the flat part of the female end, and it can cause a leak. There are some fittings that are dual seat. They'll use both, but they're usually, I think they're -8 and smaller. And I believe those are Parker fittings. Anyway, I ended up getting these. I didn't want to change the manifold over on the intercooler. So I got these adapters. These will plug right into the stock fitting. It's got the clip right there. And then these can go ahead and attach. Should be okay. I really didn't want to pull the manifold out and use a dedicated AN manifold. Not so much because it was another $150 to buy that, but I didn't want to have to take the lid off. I realize you can pull that manifold out and put it back. You're upsetting that O-ring seal, and if it doesn't seal up, you're not going to know until you're actually pumping water into the blower and you notice your coolant level dropping. So I really don't want to upset that seal that's on the lid right now. So I'm just going to use these adapters. They weren't very expensive. They're nice, have their nice laser etched logo, and I'll just reuse my clips for the ones I have, and this should do fine. Back down the ground. Already loosened that up. There's one pipe, hose, whatever. Okay, we got the hose off of there. We need to get it off the pump there because our new hose has to connect there. And I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to do with this yet. Well, I know that's not going back, but I don't know how much of this hose I'm going to use, if any. I went ahead and attached the bracket using their nylock. It's 10 millimeter. We're going to go ahead and set it in over there. Well, this didn't come with instructions, so I'm just winging it here. So I just put that in the center. You can see I've got a nice clearance all the way around. And then there is our bracket right there. And I marked the inside of it with an ink pen, so I can drill a little pilot hole to get that tech screw to start. I'm going to be quite a bit smaller than the tech screw, but I don't want it to be walking around all over, so I'm just going to make a little pilot there if I can. But before I do that, I'm going to pull the tank out and tighten this screw up since it's a little difficult to get to, and I don't want it moving. So I very carefully pulled the tank out without upsetting where I had set this on the frame rail. And I took an awl and I scribed around this edge here, just in case the bracket moved while I tightened the bolt. I'd know right where to put it. It didn't move, I got lucky, but if I ever take this out, I'm gonna know right where I need to have it, just by those marks. It won't rust, it's aluminum. Okay, well, seeing as we're gonna be pulling the tank out eventually to cover it with the heat tape, the heat tape, went ahead and used a tech screw for now. We'll be pulling that out and using a nut zerd in there after I get one of those. And I used a chrome washer in the nut here. Kind of finishes up a little bit, makes it look a little better than just the nut on top of the black piece. So now it's ready to be plumbed. Man, that thing's tight. There we go. This is a nice billet cap. It's got an O-ring. Could probably use a little more grease on that O-ring. Very nice inside. Welds are decent. There's no voids. Looks pretty good. If they were gonna powder coat, it would have been nice if they smoothed it all out and rounded them all off, but you know what? Would have just cost more, and this thing wasn't exactly cheap anyway. So we're ready to go ahead and plumb. We're gonna take this one and put it down to the pump, which is now the old hose is off. This one is going to go to the intercooler, and then this is going to go to the top. Way I've seen others run it, and the way I run it. Going to bring cold in from the bottom, hot from the top, because the air goes this way and around the lid. So not that it matters probably a whole lot, but this is going to be the hot exit. So that's going to come over to here and dump into the tank. And then this one is going to come from the heat exchanger. Alright, so I put a little tiny bit of aluminum anti-seize on that. And these fittings can rotate inside the hose, so you're just going to have to find what works best for you. So when I connected this, it feels a little long, and the reason being is the adapter here. If I just had the 12AN manifold, the hose wouldn't seem as long because this would be closer in this way. But because I'm using that adapter, it's making the hose kind of go up a little bit. But it's not a big deal. It's not stressing the hose, and you can't take these apart. They're basically push lock fittings. They're barbed, and in order to get the hose off, you have to cut the hose off. Never fails. I use a little bit of anti-seize and even gloves, and I still manage to get it all over. I say a little bit, I mean just a little bit. So I tightened this one up first, and I twisted this fitting to better line up. You can see how it's not quite perfect. It would be if that wasn't there, but there it is. I mean, that's how simple it is. Kind of goes up a little bit, but it's not really going to cause me any problems. So I'll put this on when I put the lower on. I did put a little bit of O-ring lube on these fittings just to help the adapter out. All right, the bottom of the tank, that fitting there, is going to get this hose. This is the one, the only one that has a bare end. Obviously the bare end is going to go onto the pump. I found a clamp. It didn't come with the clamp. You could use the one that came on the pump, I suppose. I'm not going to do that just because I hate those clamps. And, well, I got a clamp. Well, you can't really see that, can you? Yeah, there you go. That's better. So anyway, that end is going to go on the end of the pump. And I clock that. And I did put a little anti-seize on there. And I do mean a little. because it feels feels almost like it's galling, but it's not. I think it's just aluminum on aluminum. It's anodized aluminum, so it's kind of hard anyway. So I'm just going to leave that a little loose in case I need to clock the hose. Seat that all the way down till it bottoms out. Bring my clamp over, and I'll get that tightened up. Yeah, that fits nice. Sweet. Okay, so this hose here, I did end up cutting it. So it came up from down here, and I cut it on the straight portion, and it tied right into their hose with their fitting. All I have to do is put a clamp. I don't even know if I need a clamp, but I'm going to put one anyway, because it's not really a push lock that they have. I guess it kind of is, but I would feel better with at least some sort of clamp on it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and that hose fit nicely into the stock holder there. And so yeah, it's basically plumbed up. I just got to tighten up the fittings and put the clips on, and it'll be ready to fill. The best way I found to install these is to put these on the fitting first before you try attaching the hose to the quick coupler end. Let me show you what I mean. All right, well, it's done. It looks really bare up here now that the other tank is gone. I'm gonna put distilled water in it just because our water here is a well. Anyway, we'll be back with it running, show you it running, and see how it goes.